In today's class, we're going to learn about the infinitive. So we're going in today's class, we will listen carefully to the title name, the infinitive. Now, if I give you an example, she kicks a ball. She kicks a ball. Then we have a verb, kick. We have a subject, she. And we have an object, ball. She kicks the ball. Okay? So then we say the verb here is supposed to be a finite verb. Okay? Now, we are talking about the infinitive, the title for today. The class that you're going to attend today is the infinitive. The infinitive. The example I have here for you is she kicks a ball. She kicks a ball. Let's look at the example. The verb kicks. When you say kick, that's called the verb. And we have a subject, she, and we have an object, a ball. Okay? So the verb kicks. And you got the object, the ball. The verb kicks is limited by a number of persons. Only one person here, she. So it is limited to one person. Now, therefore, the ball is kicked by just one single person. So we say this verb kicks is supposed to be a finite verb. What kind of verb? A finite verb. The verb kicks, that is supposed to be a finite verb. A finite verb. All right? Now I give you another example. To love is natural. To love is natural. Now let's look at the verb here. To love is natural. So in the second sentence, to love, we are talking about to love. In the second sentence, to love shows the action is denoted by the verb love. To love is natural. So when we are talking about to love, it is denoted by the verb love. It has no subject and it is limited by number and person. Now to love is natural. So we are talking about the subject, no subject. Here you have no subject and not limited by number. You can love any number of persons. So there is no limit. Therefore, we call such verb, to love, we call such verb non-finite or infinitive. Non-finite. So we call this verb non-finite. Non-finite verb. Alright? We call this a non-finite verb. Now, a verb which has a subject like this, she, and limited by a person and number of the subject, we call it a finite verb. The verb which has got a subject and it is limited by the person and number of the subject, then we call this a finite verb. In the case of the second sentence, to love, we are talking about non-finite verb. Here, a verb which denotes only an action without mention. To love is natural. So, a verb which denotes an action without mentioning the subject. Here, no subject for the second sentence. Therefore, we call it a non-finite verb, or we can call it the infinitive. Okay. Now, there are different types of infinitive. Types of infinitives are of three categories. One, the infinitive, the participle, and third, the gerund. So now let us look at the types of non-finites. The types of non-finites. You're looking at the types of non-finite. There are three categories. What are they? A, you have the infinitive. That's what we are doing. That's the title we are doing. The infinitive. B, we have the participle. The second category, the participle. And the third category, we have the gerund. The gerund. So we are talking about the two kinds of verb, the finite and the non-finite verb. As I said, she kicks the ball. The verb kicks has got a subject she, and there's an object, the ball, and therefore we say, and it is limited. It is limited by a person and number of subject. Okay, it is limited by a person, and number of subject, and we call that a finite verb. In the second we have, to love is natural. Here we do not have a subject. And there is no number. So we have a verb without mentioning the subject or limited to person, or therefore we call this a non-finite. The types of non-finites, we have three categories. First, the infinitive, and then the participle, and the third category, the gerund. So now today, we are going to see in detail the first category, the infinitive. Okay, and that's what we are going to look at. Now, when you talk about the infinitive verb is always formed by two. The infinitive is always formed by two. So, let us talk about the infinitive. When you talk about the infinitive, the infinitive is formed by putting two before the verb. We put two, TO2, before the first form of verb. Then it is partly like a noun and partly like a verb. So we are adding two to the verb, and it is partly like a verb, partly like a noun. As you go on doing several exercises, you will understand better. The infinitive can also be called a verb noun. The infinitive we can also call it, can also be called a verb noun. A verb, noun. So, because it is partly acting like the verb, partly acting like the noun. So, we call it a verb noun. Okay? How do you form the infinitive? By adding to the verb. Partly a noun, partly a verb. So, we can also call it a verb noun. A verb noun. Now, I give you some examples for you and me to understand. She began to play. The infinitive. Okay? The first one is she began. She began to play. Another sentence. She began to play. They wanted to leave. They wanted to leave. They wanted to leave. The third one I have here is I told her. I told her to sit. Okay? Then I give you more examples. Rohan is too tired to go out. Rohan is too tired to go out. To go out. Another example for you. Another example for you is apples are sweet to eat. Apples are sweet to eat. And finally, we have one more example. It is difficult to achieve success. It is difficult to achieve. It is difficult to achieve success. Now we are talking about the first category of non-finites, and that is the infinitive. I said the infinitive is formed by adding to the verb. Now the verb can be called either a verb or a noun. So the infinitive, we can also call it a verb noun. Now we have some examples of infinitive here. It is formed by adding to. Now let's look at it very carefully. Now, here we have the infinitive. She began to play. She began to play. We can form the infinitive and we can call it a verb noun also, we said. Now, she began to play. To play. To the verb we added to. I told her to sit. Action word sit. We are forming infinitive. We added to. Apples are sweet to eat. To eat. Again, the verb eat, we are adding to. They wanted to leave. They want to go. Again, to is added. So we have the infinitive formed. Rohan is too tired to go out. To go. To go. Go is a verb. So we are adding to. It is difficult to achieve. Achieve is a verb. Here we are adding to. So in this category, the first category, the infinitive is formed by adding to the verb. To the verb. And here the verbs are play, sit, eat, leave, go, achieve. We have added to form the infinitive. I said the infinitive can be called a verb noun also. Okay, now we have got 6 sentences here. The infinitive we added because we added 2 to the verb. Here we have sentences, the infinitive. She began to play. I told her to sit. The apples are sweet to eat. They wanted to leave. Rohan is too tired to go. It is difficult to achieve.